at NOR.
You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended Shaolin Temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
A couple of days ago, I talked about the medical marijuana bill in Illinois and how it was leading further into the Box Canyon. Today, I wanted to talk about the implementation of Massachusetts' medical marijuana initiative, and we could call this Box Canyon 2 drug test boogaloo, I guess. The first medical marijuana dispensaries in Massachusetts could be opening by the end of the year. This was just released by the Department of Public Health. This reporting is coming from, BostonHerald.com. So the agency filed some draft regulations. I got a copy of these draft regulations for the medical use of marijuana in Massachusetts and expects the final regs to be approved by the Health Council and the Secretary of State by the end of May. And so we might have dispensaries by the end of the year in Massachusetts. So this would this is a good thing, right? We got dispensaries coming out, but as you look deeper into these regulations, you find that marijuana is becoming increasingly more medical. In one case, they talk about Massachusetts has a prescription drug tracking program to prevent, addicts from doing doctor and pharmacy shopping, and they want to have cannabis treated in that particular program. So the more that we keep putting cannabis in the medical frame, the more they want to apply the medical controls to it. And that's what we're seeing with this regulation. So let me just go through some of the points that are in this Massachusetts regulations. These are the draft public regulations for medical marijuana. They're going to be calling them MMTCs, Medical Marijuana Treatment Centers. As I call them, MWIOs. Money walks in, marijuana walks out. But whatever, a dispensary, co-op, treatment center, alternate healing place, whatever. Marijuana walks in, money walks in, marijuana walks out. All right, so the requirements for these in Massachusetts are going to require each nonprofit medical marijuana organization. And right there, you already see one of the problems that we have here. Only with medical marijuana in medicine do we insist that the businesses be nonprofit. Right? Merck's not required to be nonprofit. Bristol Myers Squibb isn't required to be nonprofit. Plenty of companies out there, Humana, Aetna, a lot of profit going on in medical care, but for some reason with marijuana, it's got to be nonprofit. But anyway, these MMTCs have to operate their own cultivation and dispensing facilities. So, the closed shop, right? You get your weed from Dispensary A, it's only the weed grown at Dispensary A. According to their regs, this allows for uniform seed-to-sale control and maximized security. Now, this would be tighter than even what's going on in Colorado. If I'm understanding correctly, Colorado is like 70% must be grown at the medical marijuana dispensing facility. Well, what do they call them in Colorado? Anyway, here they're talking about 100%, grow all of it, right? What all this leads to is restricting good strains of medicine to one particular place. Eventually, people will find out that the good stuff's at this place, the bad stuff's at that place. And given the regulations they've set up for Massachusetts for how people have to register for particular dispensaries, that's going to make things kind of difficult. You got to just hope you live close enough and got to register for one of the ones with the good growers. Let's see. Also, for the MMTCs, anyone applying for registration of dispensary agents, the dispensary agent has to be 21 years old, right? So anybody working at a dispensary has to be 21 years. That's fine, right? But they also must not have ever been convicted of a felony drug offense in Massachusetts or any like violation of laws in another state. I've never understood this. Here we have marijuana growing. We're going to put together places that will be required to grow their own marijuana. But if anyone ever got caught growing their own marijuana in the past, they can't work at them. Some of the best, most talented growers out there who might have been caught, got a felony grow record, can't work at the places that will grow the marijuana. We're just going to let all that expertise go to hell because it used to be illegal to grow. Now they can't grow legally. I just don't understand that mentality. Here's the one that really got me, though. They were listing what requirements the MMTCs should have for their employees and their workplaces, and inspections, and age 21, and a license and they got to have a badge, security cameras, whatever the hell else, right? And then I got to point number 10. Alcohol, smoke, and drug-free workplace policies. Are you freaking kidding me? The people who work at the dispensary not only can't have a felony, they got to pass a P test? Now, I could be wrong, because drug-free workplace policy does not necessarily mean random or pre-employment drug testing. Even though it typically means that, under the law it doesn't have to mean that. So, give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe drug-free workplace policy just means, don't come to work high or use pot on the job. That could be. Or it could be require P testing to work in the pot dispensary. So let's not only have not allow the people who have the most interest in growing, who just had the bad luck of getting caught, don't let them be the growers. But the guy who wants to be the bud tender or the clerk, who happens to like marijuana and have a lot of interest in marijuana and can tell you all about marijuana and knows the difference between a terpene and a flavonoid. No, we don't want that guy working here. No. Let's get someone who can pass a P test. Wow. All right. And what was the, I love this point too, because they're listing all the requirements, the security requirements that we have to have at the Medical Marijuana Treatment Center in Massachusetts. These requirements that we have to have for security to handle a plant. 24-hour recordings from all video cameras that are available for immediate viewing by the police department upon request and are retained for at least 90 days. Recordings shall not be destroyed or altered and shall be retained as long as necessary if the MMTC is aware of a pending criminal, civil, or administrative investigation or legal proceeding for which the recording may contain relevant information. And the cameras must have the ability to produce a clear color still photo that is a minimum of 9,600 dots per inch from any camera image live or recorded. Wow. This is like, CSI level scan down to the license plate from a satellite level photography, folks. 9,600 dots per inch. Let me give you an idea. That might not mean anything to a lot of people. Let me give you an idea. Most of the stuff you see on the web is either 72 or 96 dots per inch. Most of the stuff that you see printed out for the nice crisp printout, your typical LaserJet printer, 300 to 600 dots per inch. You want to get photo quality paper, photo quality printers, 2,400 dots per inch, 4,800 DPI. 9,600 DPI is insanely good resolution that they're going to require at these MMTCs. All right, let's get to this one. Caregivers. Here's the Massachusetts draft regulation for caregivers. Got to be 21. And unless you're working in a hospice, you're like a nurse or something, right? If you're a caregiver, you may only serve one patient. Yep. So your mom's got cancer and your dad's got irritable bowel. Guess what? You can only be a caregiver for one of them. Sorry. A qualifying patient, though, may have up to 2 caregivers, but only one of them may grow for that patient. Right. So this, of course, is to try to stem the tide of, why I'm not a dispensary. I'm a caregiver for 1,000 people, one person at a time. So that's why they're doing that. They got the debilitating condition list from DPH that they don't make any changes to the debilitating condition list. That list, by the way, is cancer, glaucoma, HIV/AIDS, Hep C, Lou Gehrig's disease, Crohn's disease, Parkinson's disease, and multiple sclerosis. Only when such diseases are debilitating. So if you just got, your run-of-the-mill multiple sclerosis, you got your, sort of AIDS, that's not enough. It has to actually be debilitating. and other debilitating conditions as determined in writing by a qualifying patient's certifying physician. And all DPH added to this was to define the word debilitating, clarifying that medical marijuana is intended for use in patients with serious conditions, not your, trivial hepatitis C, something serious. DPH also in their regulations is recommending that 10 ounces is what a personal 60-day supply is. 10 ounces is a 60-day supply. So 1 ounce should get you by for 6 days. An ounce for 6 days should be enough for anyone. That's a half ounce every 3 days, right? That should be fine. Half ounce is 14 grams every 3 days. So maybe 5 grams a day. That should be enough for you. That's all you need. You only need 5 days. 5 grams a day. But physicians would have the authority to increase the amount of the 60-day supply in limited circumstances. So if you've got one of those serious cases of AIDS, if you've got really debilitating Lou Gehrig's disease, then maybe you could ask permission. Could I please have permission to have more than 5 grams a day? Now, looking through this as well, I put another note here, is that before certifying a qualifying patient, a certifying physician must utilize the Massachusetts Prescription Monitoring Program, unless otherwise specified by the department, to review the qualifying patient's prescription and medical marijuana certification history. So before we're even going to consider giving you marijuana, we're going to run you through a database. We're going to run you through some tracking and analysis here to make sure you're not just a dirty doper, just trying to get your weed. Not make sure that you're not any, one of those people, right? So you're already guilty until proven innocent, basically. And then once you're proven innocent, then you may have as much as 5 grams a day, maybe. That's as much as we can handle. Okay. That's, of course, if you're over the age of 18. If you're a child, right? If you're Brave Michaela in Massachusetts, if you're Alex Eccles in Massachusetts, then the Department of Public Health proposes highly restrictive model for access for those less of 18 years of age. Guardian approval. Now, guardian approval may not sound like much. You might think, well, of course, a parent should, approve their kid getting medical marijuana. But when you think of those families where there might be a divorce and one parent, and they've got kind of a shared custody, and one parent's for it and the other parent's not, how does that work out with the guardian approval in Massachusetts? Had a sneeze coming on there. Excuse me. I think it might be coming back. We're doing it live. So they've got requiring guardian approval and certification by 2 physicians. Got to have 2 doctors approve you if you're under the age of 18. One of whom must be a pediatrician or pediatric specialist. And you know how hard it is to find a pediatric specialist who's willing to sign for medical marijuana? That's part of the problem. Why they have to go to other clinics is because they can't find one that's willing to do so, because recommending marijuana for a kid is already taboo enough, is already restricted enough. So let's make it a highly restrictive model. Let's make it even more restrictive for some kid with cancer, some kid with autism, violent bloody seizures. Let's make it more difficult to get him something. That makes a lot of sense. We also have, for qualifying patients who have already received a written recommendation from a physician, because remember, Massachusetts has medical marijuana already. They're doing it. This is just a matter of finalizing the regs for dispensaries, right? So for those people who already have recommendations, they're already growing. No further actions needed at this time. The law allows a qualifying patient to cultivate a supply of marijuana for personal medical use until DPH finalizes regulations and implements the program. So enjoy the medicine you're growing for now, because as soon as DPH gets around to putting these dispensaries together, you're not going to have that right. In fact, what you're going to have to do, and this is further in the recommendation in these regulations, is you're going to have to apply for what they're going to call a hardship cultivation license. You're going to have to actually prove that they need to give you an exemption, that they need to allow you to grow instead. And you have to prove that it's too hard for you to go to the dispensary. It's too hard. You don't have a caregiver who can take you there. It's too hard for you to get there yourself. You don't make enough money to afford what's at the dispensary. And then maybe they will grant you a hardship exemption for your use of medicine. And this is just the same kind of hoops that are going to happen. They're going to continue to happen so long as we keep trying to separate people by who's sick enough to have compassion for and who's healthy enough to put in a cage. They're going to have to keep tightening the noose and cutting down the loopholes, closing the doors to make sure to try to keep all the potheads out, because it would be the worst thing ever if somebody healthy was using marijuana and we couldn't punish them. That would be awful. So in order to maintain that paradigm of being able to punish adults who choose to use a substance safer than alcohol, in order to keep that going, we're going to have to make it harder for an 18-year-old or a 12-year-old to treat their leukemia puking with cannabis. In order for us to try to stop the adults from smoking marijuana, we're going to have to make sure that you can only be a caregiver for one person. Maybe you've got the ability, maybe you're a great grower, and you'd have the ability, if you were allowed to do so, you could care for 24 people. You could bring health and relief and an end to pain and suffering to 24 people. But since one of those 24 might not be sick enough, we're going to restrict you to one. We're going to keep this genie in the bottle as much as we can. We're going to restrict it to as few people as we can. Does this make any kind of sense for how we deal with medicine, how we deal with a non-toxic herb? Treating it like it's plutonium. We're going to take a short break. I'm going to try to get John Payne on the line. We weren't able to get him at the regular time. We'll see if we get him now. If not, we'll be back for some chat. Stick around.